My mom would be thrilled to be in this room today. Oh my God, did she love a party? She loved her friends. She would just be so honored that you all came. We have a standing room only apparently, so good job, Mom, for having a bunch of great friends. I do want to start with talking about lifelong friends. So I met several of you on the phone over the last month, and also today. So many friends from Mesa High School. Mom went to Mesa High School. We're in Mesa. You're all here. And lifelong friends are just the very best thing you can ever have. You have a fulfilling life if you have lifelong friends. And the reason I wanted my friends to sit at the front table is because I too have lifelong friends. And I'm so happy that they're here. They don't know any of you, some of you here and there, but they came to support me, and that's really precious, and I thank you for that. So I'm going to tell you some of my memories of Mom, and hoping you'll share your memories as well when we get to that point. But I'm also going to give you a kind of an overview of her life. Some of you already know, but she was born in Macon, Georgia, which was an odd place to be born since her whole childhood and teenage years and everything was in Mesa. But when she was in in Georgia, then she moved to England during the war. Her dad, Don Fuller, was a Royal English Air Force trainer, so he came over to the United States. And what's the Air Force base close to here? Falcon Field, to train American pilots to fight in World War II. And she ended up moving there as a young child with her parents, and she actually, one of the things that she never stopped talking about was coming back after the war in 1947 on the Queen Mary, which is docked in Long Beach, California. And I don't think she had these memories because she was probably 3 years old, but somebody had these memories for her. But she said that all the servicemen put her up on the bar and she danced and sang, and you can just imagine that being something that happened to my mom for sure. So she was the oldest of 6 kids. 2 of them are here today, Steve and Heather. Like I said, she graduated from Mesa High School. Go Jackrabbits! Also, during her school years, she accomplished a lot. So I met a couple friends over here, one of which was in the Rabettes with her. So the Rabettes was a twirling and marching.
Roping.
Yep, and I hope you share more about that because I was always amazed, and you're going to see some pictures when we do the slideshow of her and the Rabettes. She also was a championship shooter. So this might be something a lot of you did not know, but she was the Arizona State champion. When she was 12 was the first time she won that award, and then throughout her high school years, just like I've told my daughter Lauren, who hunts, my mother was a hunter, I always told Lauren, I wonder how that's going finding your real mom, because I can't imagine anybody coming from me being a hunter, because that's just not my thing. But my mother was a hunter, my father was a hunter, and my daughter a hunter. Oh, and my brother Steve. Yeah, they're making a ruckus out of Bambi. So another one of her big accomplishments was that she won the Junior Maid of Cotton, which was a thing back in the day. She was the Arizona Junior Maid of Cotton. It was a big thing for her. You'll see pictures of that as well. And she married my dad, moved to Orange County, California, where she had me. And then she was a fashion model in California. So you'll see some of her pictures of her in magazines. And one of my earliest memories was going through her clothes closet because she got to keep all the clothes. So she had the most elaborate clothes and jewelry and shoes. Oh my God. It's where it came from, Patty. Shoes. My mom had like bright orange pumps and bright green pumps. Remember, it was the 60s, so she had all these amazing shoes and clothes, and I used to put everything on and play dress up. So that was one of my very earliest memories. So after we moved to Spokane, I also remember my mom volunteered for the welcome wagon, which used to be a thing. You would take baskets to new neighbors' doors and welcome them, and my mom was the perfect person to do that. I've heard from every single one of you how much you adored my mom. She never met a stranger. She was just so likable, lovable. There wasn't a person that ever, I've never heard anybody say anything cross about my mom, except for me, and I'm sorry about that, for sure. But she also volunteered for, it was a place called, and Patty, I don't know if you remember this, but Booth Memorial Hospital, which was in downtown Spokane. It was in the day, this was the words they used, a home for unwed mothers. So they were pregnant, they went there, they got support. My mom volunteered there. I can remember going to many events, and Jim, you might too. At the hospital, we got to go with her and help, organize and to do field trips with the unwed mothers. So it was pretty special. Another thing she did is she volunteered at the Spokane County Jail, which again later would be an interesting transition for my mom.
I do remember that.
Volunteered at the Spokane County Jail to teach Mexican food classes to the inmates so that they knew how to cook. And my mom was an amazing Mexican food cook. She went down to Mexico, would ask all the people for their recipes. It was all authentic, and her Mexican food was the best. And now I know my brother Jim is a Mexican food cook extraordinaire too, and many of my mom's recipes.
Most of them.
Another thing about her, and you guys, some of you are going to know this right now, but she made every holiday a huge event, no matter what the holiday. April Fool's Day, we would all go to school, bite into our sandwich, there would be wax paper in the middle of it.
You got wax paper?
Wax.
I got aluminum foil.
Yeah.
They
They probably didn't have aluminum foil back. We got wax paper. We got raw eggs instead of hard-boiled eggs. So
Wow.
she made a big. So we starved on April Fool's Day. She made, and you all know if you've ever been to my mom's house or around my mom during the holidays, she decorated like there's no tomorrow. Had blow up things in her front yard, animated things everywhere. She just made holidays so special. And I know for me that I did that with my kids. I made sure that every Valentine's Day they would have, when they wake up for breakfast, they would have their little sweet treats there and their Easter baskets, and I'm sure that has been passed down, right, Nolan? I'm sure, yeah. You're like, oh, that started with Grandma Carol. Probably started with Grandma Joyce, but I don't know. Another thing about her, so she used to always volunteer for the PTA. She was a room mother, so she was my room mother every 3 years because she would have to volunteer for Jimmy's room mother the next year, and then Steve's, and so we would we would do this whole, and her room mother treats were the best they could ever be. I mean, they were always so fancy. They weren't just
They
like
learn too much.
little things. She would go all out and cut out construction paper, snowmen, and put a, you know, it was just always so fancy. Only a couple more things. Another thing is she loved beauty pageants. So Miss America was her favorite, Miss USA. Beauty pageants was a big deal. Even, I would say 5 years ago, she would call me and she'd say, so who are your top 10? Because we would be sitting there watching Miss America at the same time with our paper and pencil. And when I was a kid, she'd always have paper and pencil ready for us to sit down and write down our top people. And I mean, that was her thing. She loved beauty pageants. Okay, so she was a school bus driver when I was in high school, which was kind of weird as as a high school kid. But the good news is that everyone loved my mom. Like, instead of me being the weird kid with the school bus driver mom, they would come and tell me, oh my God, your mom did this, your mom did that. And they would, you know, she would get in her bus on her birthday and it was all decorated because the kids just adored her. And that's where she met her future husband, Mike. Kids did not adore Mike. So when you say opposites attract, they attracted. But, so Mom and, they used to play poker between school bus runs. So in the morning, you know, they would do their run and then they would play poker in the bus garage, and that's when she and Mike started playing poker and some other people, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. So one last thing before I talk about Mike is my mother was a rabbit but could not do a cartwheel. She tried.
It's true
She
story.
tried all the time to do a cartwheel, and she would just fall on her ass every single time. It was impossible for her to do a cartwheel. But the great thing about her is she continued to try. Actually, there's two more things. I want to tell you that my mom, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but because it's a bad word, she was a badass. My mother was a badass. I mean, when we were growing up, her best friend lived, ass is the bad word, Jim. I'm trying to, I know you expected something a little bit more. But when her best friend lived on a lake near our house in Spokane. And when my dad would go to work, if it was a nice day, every day in the summer, if it was a nice day, she would load the three of her kids in the car, hook up the boat, drive to the lake, back it up, launch it like a pro. Like, she even would help men that didn't know how to launch her boat, but she would launch the boat into the water every time she could. There was not a sunny day in the summer that we were not in the lake, and she would get us all there. And I mean, she was just a badass. She was a sharpshooter. She was a trailblazer when it came to her work. I mean, she moved to, Mike told me this just a couple days ago, when they moved to Arizona, she started working as a bus driver for $5 an hour. But guess what? She ended up being the general manager of that company and was extremely successful. So, I know that my friend Tammy, she's like, please don't talk about me. About a week ago, she said, so how are you holding up? Because I was telling her about all the pictures I was going through, how's it going through all these pictures? I said, the beginning it was tough because I've spent my last month immersed in every picture I could find of her. And I ended up, and I told Tammy, I said, the greatest thing is I am in awe of my mom. What a rock star she was.
Yes.
She really, She really was, and I wish I would have, you know, I always kind of recognized that, but I wish I would have recognized it a lot sooner. I mean, I was able to spend the last probably 5 years of her life with her as much as I possibly could, and we went on a cruise. She came to visit me in Texas and just spent great time together, but I wish I would have been a little bit more accepting of, you know, her generational things that are not the same as mine. I mean, she grew up in the 50s, I was in the 70s, you know, it's just, we're completely different generations, and I wish I would have recognized that a lot sooner than I did. Okay, Mike. So, my brothers and I have known Mike since we were kids. Our dog Sparky used to chase him on his motorcycle, and he would zip by our house really fast. And his sister Sharon, where are you, Sharon? She used to babysit us when we were kids, and we were not good kids to babysitters at all. So, I just heard this last night for the first time, but Steve said that the very first time he saw Mom and Mike together, he was really mad because Mom was on the back of his motorcycle pulling up into the driveway of Steve's house. And he just didn't appreciate that Mom was on the back of a motorcycle. But you know, when they were working together in the bus garage, and I just learned this as my mom was dying, and after she died, I spent so many hours sitting with Mike talking about Mom, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but there's so many things I didn't know. He was madly in love with her, madly in love with her. And, you know, I can remember when I would go to their house on Christmas, there would be all these weird envelopes stuck in the Christmas tree, just white envelopes everywhere. They were Christmas cards that they wrote to each other, and they'd think of it one day and put it in the Christmas tree, and then 2 days later they'd get at each other another Christmas card. And he told me that when he met my mom, or when they first started getting together, that he said he was absolutely obsessed with her. He would have gone to the end of the earth for her, and I saw that in her final days. I mean, that man loved my mom, and I am so happy that she got that kind of love in her life. So thank you, Mike, for being so good to my mom. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this, and then we're gonna get somebody else up here. Okay, let's see. Buying presents for grandkids and decorating for the holidays. Bright colored lights, flowers, and fashion on the runway. Queen Mary and cruise ships and great food and slot machines. These are a few of Mom's favorite things. The moon and the stars, and picking oranges from her fruit tree. Hitting a jackpot, playing bridge, poker, and Yahtzee. Shopping at Michael's for supplies for rock paintings. These are a few of Mom's favorite things. On a boat or a beach or a stream with a fishing pole. A Nicholas Spark or Daniel Stowe movie or novel. Holding Mike's hand while wearing her wedding ring. These are a few of Mom's favorite things. When my dog bites, and he did, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember Mom's favorite things. Everybody. And then I don't feel so bad.
Absolutely don't know the song.
Woo!